What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Another episode. C-Suite Unfiltered. Mike Andes, Lee Park. We're coming at you. And Mike is down in North Carolina, and boy, does he have some updates. Things are crazy down there. Yeah, starting a new business, starting multiple businesses. How's it going, man?
It's going good, I have to say, after yesterday, I think Zach and I both really just want to get home at this point now.
Yeah.
So that's the current motto is like we have one more week. Well, one more week of filming, but then we got the last couple days that we're here, we still gonna do other stuff. But for me personally, it's one more week in my brain.
Yeah. Fair enough. So the YouTube channel released the biggest drama, because I know our last pod you were talking about how you didn't want to feel like you had to manufacture drama or manufacture stories, but at the end of the day, sometimes building a business does have very boring phases of it, right? Like I've helped you build some of your businesses, and there are very boring, monotonous phases, but you had one of your general managers get into a car accident. So let's just jump right into that. What happened? Explain it from your perspective behind the
Essentially he moved out here from Texas, and so he didn't have his car here until his family moves out. And so he got an apartment quite a ways away from the shop space. And that's always a massive red flag for a GM. Like, we've just consistently seen, if the GM lives more than 40, 45 minutes away, it almost never works out. And so that was not good. But it's up to him to find out his living situation. So he got an apartment that he was going to count as short term until his family got here, because he has a bunch of kids. So anyways, I figured I would give him the truck to be able to drive back and forth. We've always said no to guys driving a truck outside of business, and I've always done that because of the risk of potentially someone getting in an accident.
Yep.
So sure enough, the very first day that he drove up to that new apartment, literally on like half a mile away from his apartment to pick up the keys, he got in an accident. So it was his fault. So went and picked him up, and the truck front, like the driver's side front corner, is the one that got hit. And so at first we thought, okay, bumper's messed up. It's like the quarter panel's definitely messed up. The back panel got hit as well. It was like they hit it and it spun and hit the back probably. So, but I'm like, look, it's drivable. We changed the tire because the tire blew out. There's some cracks. We got to change our light. Bumper needs replaced, but we can bungee this thing up and finish the challenge. And you're going to see in the video. Yeah, like tomorrow morning, the video comes out.
You MacGyvered it. You MacGyvered it.
We MacGyvered it. So in the video, I was quite elated at the fact that, hey, we're going to MacGyver this and make this happen. And turns out that something happened. We don't know yet what. We just have sent it into the repair shop, so we'll see what happens. But yeah, the tire would not spin. Well, you couldn't turn the tire. I almost drove it, and I was like, okay, it's probably not a good thing if I can't turn the wheel. So had it towed. And so essentially in that moment determined that we were going to you'll see in the video, I don't know how much Zach's gonna leave in.
Yeah.
But I was very much debating as we were driving in this car accident, and all I had was a 6-second clip of him saying, I was in an accident, my phone's about to die, here's my location, kind of thing. And on the way, I was like, okay, look, I don't want to get caught up in the drama or like what we're trying to do with the media. Ultimately, I've got a few weeks under my belt. I think it was a good kind of run and enough for Augusta Lawn Care to kind of know the steps of those first few weeks. And I could just finish out this week, hit the $1,500 per day, because we can hit it this week, no problem, or next week, and call it a win, and then just can the location, right? And so then what happens is 5 to 10 minutes after, 5 minutes after I told Chuck that, hey, this is what happened. Obviously, it's not great because all of our trucks are on the same insurance policy. We've never had an accident on that policy, so it's going to kind of crush it. So after talking to him 5 minutes later, I'm like, hey, let's sit down for a few minutes. I got to go pick up a jack for this tire. Think about it, and I'll call you back. So call back 5 or 10 minutes later. In that time frame, the Concord GM put his 2 weeks notice in, and Concord is literally where his Airbnb, or not his Airbnb, his apartment was at.
Yeah.
So on the other side of Charlotte.
Yeah.
So in the moment, we said, okay, we are going to. This is not an optional thing. This is not like, what do you want to do? There's one option, and if you don't want to do it, you can leave.
Yeah.
And so it was, you're going to become the general manager of Concord, so you're closer, and you can get an Uber back and forth from work until you get a car. That's on you.
Yeah.
He's very creative though. Like he thinks he potentially might get an Uber for to do Ubering on the weekend because he doesn't have family here, so he can do that, and then that would allow him to be able to get the vehicle.
Okay.
And then there's an employee of Connors who is the GM in Huntersville who lives down towards closer to South Park, and he'd only been working for about a month, but was really really good and showed a lot of promise and has the caliber of being a GM. So he is now my GM as of today. That was last night.
Nice.
So I literally was calling him, waiting on the tow truck. It's like it was like 9:30 at night. I'm like, hey man, like I need you to become my general manager tomorrow morning. Gave him a job offer essentially. But he rolled with the punches. His name's Chandler.
Nice.
Looking forward to it. And yeah, we'll just keep rolling with the punches.
What would you say is the biggest thing that you / Chuck learned in that instance? Is it like the speed of decision, like speed over accuracy, or are you just like flexibility? Like, what do you feel like you guys have learned since that happened?
First off, I just want to say I think it's got to your head the comments that on the 2 pods ago they were saying that you had such great questions. So now I think you're taking your questioning abilities like really seriously.
I don't know about that.
Sorry, I'm not supposed to roast you. Last episode was a roast fest of Lee Park.
Yeah, dude. If you want to talk about comments, someone in the last episode said they felt bad for me because you went on so hard, and I was like, "Please don't feel bad for me. It's all good fun. If this wasn't recorded, Mike and I laughed together." But
I even felt bad for you. I apologized slightly afterwards, just like offhandedly. But the only real this is hilarious, dude. So check this out. Oh man, this is so funny. Okay, so this is your favorite stock.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah. See what happened the day?
Dude.
The day that you posted this like a couple days ago, it went up 27%. Okay. Yeah. Today, down 19%.
Diamond hands, dude. Hard after the pod released. I was like,
bro, if you would have released it right here, you would have looked like a genius.
I'm not gonna say I'm a market mover, but I mean, the question has to be asked at that point. Pod release shoots up. I don't know. I'm just saying.
Oh man, from the time that we recorded last, the time of the peak, like the day after, was 26% up, and now we're still down.
It's fine. We're good. We're diamond hands, baby. It's we're good.
Diamond hands. This is what diamond hands looks like on this stock.
Diamond hands look great.
Oh man. Okay, wait. So I was apologizing for roasting you, so I apologize for continuing.
You kept going. You just kept going.
So, you're back to your question. I wouldn't say we learned anything. If anything, I'm trying to slow things down in terms of decision making. I think we all, as a management team, kind of default to speed. So it's not necessarily something I'm like, oh, we need to make fast decisions. As a management team, we skew very heavily towards speed. Yep. It's as the organization trying to move everyone else towards that goal. That's a hard thing to keep that level of speed. And then like balancing it out with that people will need stability and things. So I don't think we've ever defaulted towards that. So, but yes, in a matter of 30, 40 minutes, making that plan was definitely I'm not gonna say it's the right decision. We don't know. Only time will tell. But having a decision to be made and being concise and clear and not having a whole bunch of let's think about it sessions. It was good. I have a lot of confidence in you, Chuck and Liz, in terms of the speed of decision making. So now it's just really a matter of what's fair for the team, what's fair for the individual, and then what's not too jarring for them. But in this case, it was a matter of like, there is no option. There's no thinking about this. This is the option, or it's out. It's done. So
Yeah, I agree with that. Do you feel like, okay, let's jump in. I'm not leaning into my questionability. I'm just trying to get better.
dude, you're doing great. You're doing great. You're doing fantastic. Your interviewing has been this pod has probably been super good for that.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I'm hoping maybe one of these days, Landscape Summit, to be able to with my guy Keith.
We do it live. We should do a live C-Suite Unfiltered. That's hilarious.
I would love that. Like and subscribe, share. We need more followers, so Mike realizes this.
Live on stage podcasts are the worst. I hate them.
Yeah, I know they're a little less than ideal in my opinion.
Yeah,
I think live like panels are good, and then you can record it and then release it as a podcast. I think those are good. But the question I was going to ask was, what is like your response in terms of employee texts you? Like now you have such big fires that can happen, right? You have multi-million-dollar businesses. Like the fires for you are very different than some first-time entrepreneurs. But employee texts you, got in a car wreck. Here's my location. Phone's about to die. Like scale of 1 to 10. Where's the stress meter?
Dude, that's so funny that you said that. So we literally on the way, we started talking about stress meters.
Perfect.
So I gauged where I was, like early in the day, and then like currently, etc. But this is what's funny. This is 100% truth. I was more stressed and mad when Zach knows what I'm gonna say. I was more stressed and mad when on like day 2 or 3, I was left at that spot without my phone, and I didn't know where Zach was, and he didn't know where I was at, like the address thing. I was so mad right there. Like I haven't been that mad in a long, long time.
Yeah.
Yesterday was a breeze compared to that. But yeah, like in the moment, it's just like this is the difference. That's the different factor. For someone that was actually starting their business out and they were struggling, that happening is crippling.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm very aware that like I'm in a different position where like, okay, I was about to go buy 2 other trucks, last month. So like losing one is horrible. But like it's not going to put me under. There's not even a risk of that, right? Mm-hmm. So I say that because for someone that has a truck that gets hit, it's not like, oh, I should be like more stoic like Mike. It's different levels of risk, right? Yeah, someone else, like they might have $5,000 in the bank, that happens, that wipes them out. They go into debt. And I would be, meaningfully stressed out of my brains. So that needs to be caveat. But secondarily, I would say number one, there was kids in the other car, and they were going to the hospital. Not because they were injured, hopefully, thankfully. They were just getting checked out. Right. But just knowing that was probably the biggest stressor at the moment. And then the next biggest stressor is my responsibility in having someone move across the country. What's my level of responsibility for that? And should I even be thinking it's my responsibility when obviously this is a employer-business relationship, and I need to consider that first. But then balance it out with the humanity of the situation. So that was where my stress was at. I was like, the truck is the truck. The insurance is going to be brutal. We're going to pay for the truck probably 3 times over the next few years as we scale. That stinks. But yeah, that's what I was thinking.
0 out of 10. Give me a number. Just for content.
I would say a 6.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, hey, that's above halfway. I mean, like, even though the fact that you have bigger fires, bigger issues, like, it is still a stressful event.
Oh, I'm far more stressed if like CoPilot goes down for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
No, like that peak stress. Recently. No, recently it hasn't. But like during like beta, like March, April, May, dude. Yeah, like when it goes down, heart rate goes up, blood pressure goes. I can feel it. It's really bad.
You got your monitor. It tells you.
Yeah, it tells me. It went down last time, 13 minutes on May 23rd, I believe. And that was horrific. Like it every minute seems horrible. Like you could talk to the guys in the CoPilot, they know, and I freak out. Like So partly because you're out of control, right? Like if I knew how to code and fix the bug, I'd probably be okay. In this situation, like yesterday, I know it sounds horrible. Like money kind of fixes the problem, right? You can buy a new truck, you can replace a truck. As long as no one's hurt, we're fine. When it comes to CoPilot, you have customers that you're failing, right?
Right.
This is not an internal issue. This is an external customer facing issue, and that affects me a whole lot more than internal stuff.
Real customers with their own customers, right? Because you're B2B, you're business to business. So they also have their own customers that are not mad at them, that now that kind of cripples them, raises their stress level, and now they're coming at you, right?
Yeah.
It's a whole different dynamic at that point.
Yeah. I feel, yeah, I know what their pain is when that's happening and
Right.
their sense of being out of control because they can't control the software either. And they have less information than I do. And so that's why usually if and when it happens, I'm immediately trying to communicate with them because I know the fear is wrapped up in like they don't know what's happening, they don't have any information. And
Yeah.
so I try to convey that as quickly as possible to them to hopefully ease that. But ideally, that never happens. So we've had a lot of improvements even with the past 4 or 5 weeks that should prevent that from happening. We changed our whole deployment process 2 weeks ago, and so that should be much more improved. It's been really, dude, it's nuts. Bug-free software sales go through the roof.
Yeah.
Bug software drops like a rock. So I can literally just look at the sales graph, like new subscriptions on CoPilot, directly correlated with how bug-free we are.
Yeah.
So we're implementing more of a bug-free policy now that we're losing so much money. I'm like, okay, we gotta start thinking about new sales.
Well, that makes sense. Appreciate you bringing up CoPilot. You get the CoPilot shirt. Still waiting on my CoPilot hoodie. Give the people some developments, man. I feel like I personally haven't even heard, other than the CoPilot Facebook group. I feel like we're making some massive strides. I think you're integrating AI a little bit more. So what's the newest, coolest feature that CoPilot has developed recently? Or are we just focused on bug-free software?
Most of it has been bug-free stuff since the last week. Like 3 weeks ago, we did the integration with OpenAI it can write your emails from inside the software, using ChatGPT. That's kind of cool. But yeah, really, we've been trying to stabilize the software. A couple things that we've changed is the budget hours breakdown for every single week on the calendar view, so you can look at your calendar really quickly and see how many budget hours versus what your capacity is, and then have the recurring number of budget hours versus one-time projects.
You Let me interrupt right there. Can I interrupt right there? Did you share that in the CoPilot group? Because I saw it in the private franchisee Facebook group, but did you also share that information in the CoPilot group?
I shared the like a screenshot with the feature, but yeah, they don't really know how important it is to Augusta. So yeah, I know for us it's huge.
Integration of a calendar that auto calculates your budgeted hours is, dare I say, invaluable. Having run a location that did 1.6 million in annual revenue, that is such a fantastic tool to have. You don't even have to think about it. Every single day, what's in the back of my head is, like, to be a little bit facetious, is budgeted hours is my religion. My religion is budgeted hours. I have to make sure this company is successful, so I must pay attention to budgeted hours. Right. Mm-hmm. And the fact that your software is integrating, and I'm not even pitching CoPilot, I'm strictly saying this as a user of home service CRMs, that having that integration is such a time saver and allows a certain element of security for you as a manager or owner of a home service business. Right. Like, I just love that. I love that auto does that. I don't think people understand the volume, the impact that has, the auto calculation of budgeted hours on a calendar.
Yeah, I like the ultimately this is why we built like CoPilot, is because we had things that we need to fix and solve, and so I think even this next 2 weeks there'll be a couple pretty big features we're rolling out that are again solving like our problems, and I've been pretty consistent saying you got to give me to the end of the year, so I still have 6 more months to kind of make it where it'll solve the majority of the problems that we face for a long time and have never been able to solve, but are solvable. And so yeah, it's been fun.
Yeah, cool. What's next in the pipeline? Just give us a teaser.
Right now we're working on a RingCentral integration so that when a customer calls, if they're in your database, it automatically opens up their profile. So it's really helpful for people in the office. This sprint is really for the office. So multi-user login for Command Center to be able to track each user instead of, like right now, Mike Andy does everything inside of our CRM because we have one user account for all of Command. So having that, and it will track time in each location so we can use it for Augusta in terms of billing, make it more efficient. But then RingCentral integration, the marketplace. So a place where instead of us having to do system templates and automations, there's a place to download so you can selectively choose what you want and you can share documents and templates, etc. And then also is coming. The next big one is price matrices and job costing. So that's coming in July as well.
Nice.
So those are all the big ones coming down the pipe. Like technically supposed to be starting on those all next week. I'm gonna say July.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Now I'm switching it up 100%. This is not a prepared question. I just thought of it off the cuff. You got a week and a half, 2 weeks till you're done in Charlotte. Where's
Yeah.
the YouTube page going? What's next? I feel like obviously you guys have a plan. So, in the interest of more teasers, CoPilot teasers, now social media teasers, where are you going? Honestly, if I had to guess, no idea where you're going next. Like I don't sit in on the media team meetings. I know all the guys. They're fantastic. They do great work, but I don't sit in on those meetings, so I don't know what's coming next. All I know is I say, hey, if you guys need content, let me know. So what's next? Do you want to give us a teaser there?
Yeah, like obviously something Zach and I talk a lot about. Zach kind of being more on the strategy side, the media side with me. So, um, you know, we're playing with a lot of things in our head right now. We don't know 100%. We have a lot of content backlogged because we've been gone for a month, and then while we've been gone, the other media team has been going out and interviewing other franchisees, following other people's stories. We have like at least 2 or 3 franchisees that filmed all of the spring rush. So we're gonna cut that all up into vlog series. So those will probably carry us like throughout the summer.
Nice.
And then we got conference. And so it's really like, okay, what are we gonna do after conference? Is really like then what would be next. And we definitely like, although this challenge hasn't necessarily been like a home run in terms of like the social media side, in terms of views, like new viewership, it definitely brings our core audience together. You know, that core 10,000 kind of people that watch every video.
Right.
And so, yeah, we'll see. You know, we have some other challenges that have thought about. They're definitely not going to be a month long. It's too long. I don't like being away. I don't think I can convince Zach to go away anywhere else for another month. So we have some other ideas though that we think we could do locally, and also the big thing is reaching a broader audience, right? Like lawn care is still a niche of a niche of a niche, and that is like it's a subset of business, and business is a subset of entrepreneurship, and entrepreneurs like then you got lawn care, very narrow, right? So there's only gonna be so many people interested in that kind of content. So you know, we got some ideas, but obviously we don't want to. We're not moving away from lawn care right now. Like it pays the bills. All of our products and services are revolving around it, and so the only reason we would ever want to diversify is just for wider reach and wider impact. Is because like from a media perspective, I want to kind of do what Dave Ramsey did for personal finances. I want to do for small business, right? But like I think that's a long game. Like even for him, if you look at his actual career, it's been years and years and years. And so I'm not in a big rush. I still think the next at least 2 to 4 years will be still the majority like lawn care based. But we have some ideas to kind of like start something separate that is a little bit more detached from myself and requires less of my time. So we have a lot of different ideas. But the challenge thing in terms of like my main channel is probably something that we will think more about and create more thoughtful content that's more entertaining and gives different angles to not just my thoughts, but in like business in general.
Oh, fair enough. I like the video you guys did recently with the chalk writing on the ground.
That was cool. Hey, yeah.
From a media perspective, just cool editing, very cool editing. I think also it whets the appetite of the person who does enjoy the numbers more, which that's me for your audience. I am not a big YouTube guy. If someone's going to talk about like how to actually impact your business, how to change things, let's talk about the numbers, let's talk about the logistics, I will listen. And if they're just giving me foo-foo, like I don't listen, I don't care, right? It's just not my style. So just kudos to you and the media team on that. Love that. Thought that was a very cool idea.
Yeah, it was kind of spur of the moment. We kind of knew eventually we needed to break down some numbers. So it was like either I could do it like my Remarkable at the whiteboard, and then I don't know. I think at the same, he sent me a WhatsApp saying, "Hey, we should do with chalk," and I had thought about it, but I was like, you know, where are we gonna get chalk? And it's like, dude, we just get it like any store, like Walgreens. And sure enough, Walgreens down the corner. So we got a big bag of it, and then at the storage facility, it was like really kind of on the edge of being too wet but it was fine. It was good.
Yeah. I liked it. I liked it. Once again, switching gears because this just popped in my head. So this is where we're going right now. Because I want to give her the plug. Okay, your chief operations officer of Augusta Lawn Care announced on her YouTube channel that
Oh,
she's
she's writing a
writing a
book.
book. Have you
Yeah,
heard about this? I'm assuming you know about this. I'm
I
giving
know
you
about it. I know about it. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't seen like a draft or anything. No.
no, me either. All I got was a text that said, "Can I use your real name in my book?" And I said, I'm not going to say no, but go for it. Like, what story are you sharing? But go for it.
That's funny.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mostly just giving Liz the plug because she's great. But she's releasing a book, which is actually really cool. And I could be butchering the general concept. But from what I understand, it is more of an operator's manual for like someone supporting maybe an entrepreneur or a small business owner and like how to build up from you are an office assistant to a manager to HR and all that. And I just think it's really cool. I didn't know if you had more insight. If you don't, this was not a prepared question, but
Yeah, like Um, obviously Liz's kind of goal in that is to kind of help other people, and she's tried to do that in different avenues and things. And so, like, I've always told her that like going after the market of like my audience isn't necessarily the play. Potentially, it is going after the person that works underneath that, like the number two,
yep.
and is a supporting role. And I think that's a huge hole in the market that is actually a wider audience because for every really great entrepreneur, there's usually like 5 or 10 people that support them very directly. And there's not a lot of content for that person, right?
Right.
Like how do you support, how do you deal with their, hypermania? How do you deal with, when they're depressed? How do you deal with them when they're pushing something through that you don't agree with? And like, merge them back into reality. And so I've always kind of pushed her in that direction, and that is like try to be a support of that person because most entrepreneurs are probably going to look at someone like her and be like, oh, she doesn't have a big business herself. When in reality, like she operates, from a daily operations level, more revenue than I do.
Mhm.
But it's just a matter of the optics. Like she would do great to be able to say, okay, look, if you are the spouse of a general manager of in an executive position to an entrepreneur that's very like thought, like
Mhm.
strategy and like moving and doing a bunch of stuff, here's like how you deal with them because they're not easy to deal with. And so, yeah, I hope that I don't know what direction she's going, but I hope that's kind of where it goes because I think that's like a very valuable thing that there's no influencer that I can think of that really focuses on that. And in my
Right.
opinion, it's actually a very, very monetizable and a blue ocean because like I said, for every great entrepreneur, there is 5 to 10 other people that are in the C-suite that need to know how to deal with that person at
Mhm.
the top. Like, can you imagine like dealing with Gary Vee? The guy's an absolute joke, right? Like he's a loose cannon, and so
Yeah.
you've
Yeah. Yeah.
got there's probably 10 to 15 operators that operate his businesses because he's not operating them. He's at the top of the funnel, driving awareness, which he should be doing. But he walks in a room and like just goes off the handle, telling people what to do and saying stuff like there's got to be someone that can share, and they don't have to actually be at the top of that game, but they need to
Right.
share their experiences along the way. So I think there's definitely something there for that, and I think even like this podcast, obviously being named C-Suite Unfiltered, has an opportunity to get into that market eventually.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a goal for it. Like, I think the goal is kind of two pronged for this podcast to look a little more internal now is number one, and this is what I've said to people when they pour on the praise, and I appreciate it, but I try to be, silent to the praise, silent to the criticism. Hey, stay in my lane. I'm doing what I think is valuable. But when they pour on the praise, I typically say, I'm just trying to show you in a slightly different light because I get to see the side of you. You and I have dumb debates about random things, or you and I talk about certain philosophies in business or practices of the stock market, but not everyone else gets to see that. So I think it's two pronged. It's one, showing you in a different light, and two, I think there's an opportunity for someone to see an operator, myself, work under an entrepreneur and what that relationship looks like, not only professionally, but also that it's like a friendship and we can talk about dumb things and we can talk about concepts and we can laugh at each other's bad stock picks and people can feel bad for me on the internet, right? Like, I think it's two prong, right? Hey, we're real people. This is a side of Mike I don't get to see, but also I think I can provide some value being essentially an understudy to you and operating in your businesses and leading your businesses to hopefully success and the people that you employ, right?
I actually think, in my opinion, over the course of time, like if you look at the amount of time I talk in the pod versus you, it's probably like 65 me, 35 you.
Yeah.
I think that'll shift more towards 50-50 or more down the road because the questions that will come, like right now, it's people from my audience, like entrepreneurs listening, and they're mostly listening for me. What's going to end up happening is that will be like a large audience, and then the people below all those listeners, like, okay, this Mike guy's a little out of control. All of a sudden, my owner's listening to his stuff, going to his conferences.
Yeah.
I need to figure out how to deal with all of this, and they're going to come with someone like you that they can connect with more as an operator level. That being said, I do feel like my part of my continuing education is like learning the value of an operator, and so it's not like I have never not it's not that I have ever not valued an operator,
Yep.
but I definitely have grown more and more to appreciate it because it is necessary that as I build foundations and build up, that the foundation doesn't get weaker and that there are people that are continually fortifying it. And they even coming out here and like starting a business from scratch where I am 100% back into operations and like doing very minutia type things, it gives me that value of appreciation for not only someone starting out, but someone who is an operator. And so I hope I never lose that because I see some people do that as they grow. And they focus so much on entrepreneurship that they forget that like operating a business is actually where the money's made.
Mm-hmm.
And strategy is, pretty lousy when it comes to paying the bills. So, yeah, it gives me a better appreciation.
Yeah, no, and I respect that take. I think I recently watched, and I know we've brought them up a lot on the podcast, and I think I've told you this that I am not drinking the tea as much, which is Alex and Layla Hormozy. 3 weeks ago, I think Layla dropped her day in the life video. 2 weeks ago, Alex dropped his day in the life video. They had their media team film the same days, but from different perspectives. One following Layla, one following Alex. And it's funny you mentioned that because I watched both of them and I was like, I don't know if
Did we talk
I
about this already? Or did I talk
no,
about this with Liz? We
you and
didn't
I
talk
have
about
not
this?
talked about this. No.
Oh, I must have talked about Zach. Okay.
Yeah, you might have talked about Zach, Liz, but I know my takeaway. I watched them both back to back. I watched Layla's
We have
first.
not talked about this at all. You're saying you and I have not talked about
You
it?
and I have not talked about this. I guarantee it.
Okay, so I want to hear your take because I talked to Zach and Liz about this.
Perfect. My take. They are phenomenal people. They are smarter than I will be, but I try to get there. I would love to get to their level of prowess and knowledge. I didn't necessarily relate to their day in the life video. It was, dare I say, pomp. It was a facade. It almost felt like they weren't actually showing a real day in the life. It was like, oh, we're like these awesome CEOs who do awesome things. Look how chill we are. And it almost was like they were selling me how like chill they are, how relaxed they are, how easy it is to be multi-million-dollar CEOs. And I honestly didn't connect with it. And I think to your point, I was like, man, there were so many people that were talking to off screen that I want to meet them. I want to talk to them because that's what I feel like I am to you. Like I am the off-screen guy. Obviously, this is our podcast, but 99% of your audience doesn't know who I am. The 1% that does, cool. Love you guys. You're great. But the 99%, like I'm the off-screen guy, right? And I'm like, man, I feel like I'd relate to the off-screen guy more than I would to Alex or Layla. So that's my honest take.
Yeah, like, looking at the direction we're going, like I think that's where we will get to that size and scope. The thing is that I hope to do is that at that size and scope, I don't overshadow those roles and those characters in the story that others could learn from, right? Because I do feel like they do have operators and they do have people, and we don't know who they are. We don't know, like they don't share them, they don't push them forward, they don't promote their story, and it's to protect them. I understand, like they don't talk about it. But I think that there's a different audience for people who are looking for someone a little more real and showing vulnerability and like not just showing your mistakes because they do actually a pretty decent job of like this is what I'm bad at, this is what I'm good at, that sort of thing. But like just showing that like more like raw, right? I personally in the same way, and I think like because of the way the culture we have, like we all are that way. There's also a subset of people that want things a little more buttoned down. They're going to be more investor types. They're appealing to companies that are doing usually 10 plus million in revenue to invest, and they're looking for investors. So it's a different type of audience, right?
Mm.
I'm currently, and my passion is not for people making $10 million plus. It's for people getting started and doing about $1 million and maybe up to 3 million. That's my passion, right?
Yeah.
Do I hope that I can help people build beyond? Great, yes, fine. But like, I'm not trying to appeal to the person who has $10 million in revenue. They're going to think I'm probably too loud, etc. Someone like both of them, very buttoned down, very professional, very executive like, that's going to appeal much more to their target audience, and they need people to apply to acquisition.com. And so, yeah, like, we all have very similar takes. Zach, myself, and Liz, and you. That's interesting.
That is interesting to hear. I think there's an element of authenticity that is hard to show through a camera. 100%. Very hard to show authenticity through a camera. But I think that the fact that we all caught the same vibe maybe says something. Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe there's some validity to it. I could be 100% wrong, but maybe I'm right.
A few things though, in their defense, and just thinking about it out loud now, because I talked about this with Zach quite a bit,
Yeah.
because we had 8 hours to drive back from Louisville. So, a couple things. One is, part of it is they have a whole team of media that are very professional, and they did it for Gary. And same thing with Gary. Gary has to, his audience is the top 500 executives at the Fortune 500 companies, and their CMOs, their chief marketing officers.
Yep.
They drive hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue for VaynerMedia. Mm-hmm. He cannot do and say or be a certain way. For example, he just went through a divorce and is now dating a girl that's 20 years younger than his older wife. That's not really talked about. He never showed his wife one time in his social media, right? I'm not saying that is like a bad thing or good thing. I'm just saying it's a buttoned down version of an executive that doesn't show that he literally went through probably the hardest time of his life the past years, and we didn't hear a single thing about it.
Yep.
And so I'm not to say that everyone needs to do that. Everyone's to do what's comfortable. I just feel like I see that. I'm like, I know that's a huge story, and that's something that I could learn from, and a lot of other people could learn from. But we're not showing that, and why aren't we? Right? Mm-hmm. And so, there's got to be boundaries as a content producer of what you do and do not share. And I do actually respect that. He's like, hey, I'm not showing family. But then there's also a level of, how am I supposed to learn from to the highest extent when family is a huge portion of business? Because it plays a huge role. Yep. And he has in passing said in several different interviews that was the lowest point of his life in 2020 and 2021 when he went through that divorce. Mm-hmm. And so things like that are interesting to me. So like, first and foremost, back to the Hormozis, like Caleb, their main producer, by the way, from Bellingham. He worked for Gary for years. And so that's kind of where that comes from. And then secondly, I would say, in general, getting to know anyone more, you're going to start to see their flaws. And so this is what I'm always careful of, as I usually kind of follow someone for a year or two, really, really, really deep, and then I kind of draw back. I'm careful to note that in just about any relationship, the more you get to know someone, you see all their flaws, and then you see the consistency of the flaws because they're humans, and then you're going to have negative emotions towards that. And so, like, that happened with Gary, that happened with Grant Cardone, etc. And so I think we need to be realizing the fact that even if you have a spouse or a best friend, or you spend 2 months, like Zach and I, spending even a month together, like you're going to get to know all the idiosyncrasies and stupid things they do and the things that annoy you. And then you start to see it consistent, like, oh, there's their Achilles heel, right? Yeah. And so, I've been bad at jumping on those things in the past. And now I've realized, like, that's just part of a relationship, is as you get to know someone more, see them more, and the frequency of seeing them is increased, that you're going to, distance yourself somewhat because you see the flaws. And so.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I think that's an honest and fair take. You learn more, so you know how to filter better. Essentially. It's actually funny. I was talking to Zach's partner. I work with her, and she said, "Yeah, it's funny. I was like, how you doing? Zach's gone. Have you guys been apart?" She was like, we've never been apart this long. And I was like, how you feeling? How's it going? My wife and I, we were long distance for 2 years before we got married. Like, trying to relate, talk to her. And she's like, what's weird is I watch the YouTube videos and they both are now starting having more of each other's mannerisms.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting. I'd be interested to see what she's picking up on.
He said that you have picked up on some of Zach's mannerisms, as well as in her private conversations with Zach, that he has picked up on some of your mannerisms.
Oh
So
man. Okay,
I
so you
cannot
should not
speak towards that, but that's what I've heard.
you should not say that to him.
No,
What
I
what you
won't.
should do is have her write those down or like document those. That'd be really interesting to go over.
Yeah, it's like a psych test right then and there.
That's so funny. But hey, like, yeah, it's what happens when you're with someone so long.
Yeah, I agree. You guys are basically locked up together. Like you're forcing
know,
them to just
dude.
follow you around and record everything you do. Like,
Oh man.
all right, man. Well, let's wrap it up. I know it's late for you. Let's wrap the pod.
Non-financial advice. I wrote my non-financial advice down
You've got some
because
great
that's
stuff.
what I'm starting to do. Oh yeah, dude.
I didn't write mine down, but I have something great once again from TikTok.
Oh, dude, what? Oh man. Okay, all right. So my non-financial advice is to not go in a submarine.
Okay,
That's my advice. You know, and to pay $250,000 to go in said submarine when I have a pretty good idea of what the Titanic looks like based upon Google Images. I'm just saying, like, is it really worth the risk? You know, so
experience it in person, bro. My not financial advice to give people actual legitimate advice and not, play into the memes.
I just gave advice that could potentially save someone's life and save them $250,000.
Fair. Here's my not financial advice. Okay. Put your political biases aside, please. Everyone, right now, take your political coat off, whether it's red or blue or purple or pink. I don't care.
I think I know what you're going to talk about.
No, I don't think you do.
1 second. I'm going to write it down.
Okay.
Do you have any more hints you're going to drop before?
There's no shot. I'll give you one hint, and let's put $100 on it.
$100?
Yeah.
Dude, we're striking out over here in South Park, and you're trying to bet me $100?
Let's do it for the people. It's good content.
Oh, okay. All right, go ahead.
You want the hint?
Oh, give me the hint, just in case.
The hint is interview.
Yes.
Nope, wrong.
What?
I don't know. Wait, which Joe Rogan interview are you thinking of?
So, RFK or whatever his name is.
Okay, that's big stuff.
Same one.
Where I was going.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no. Did you hear about that though? Like the whole charity thing. That's nuts.
Yeah, that is nuts.
Yeah. Just for everyone, just to bring everyone to speed. Basically, he came on the pod, talked about COVID and basically vaccinations, like the ineffectiveness of them. A scientist basically was like, "This is crazy. This is be censored." Blah blah blah. Joe Rogan says, "I'll give you $100,000 to come and debate him on my podcast with no time limit." And then people started chipping in tons of money to a charity if he would come on, and he declined. And now it's millions of dollars that have been pledged if he would to come on and debate a scientist versus RFK. Sorry, go for your non-financial advice.
This is not my non-financial advice. This is just maybe we could do a bit quote of the week. We could switch between non-financial advice quote of the week. Quote of the week for me is they psyoped us into believing the common cold was deadly. Quote, Andrew Tate.
Dude. That's all you have to put the preface of like political biases aside. Oh man, that's hilarious.
I don't know if you listened to that interview. Maybe we talk about it next pod. Patrick Bet David.
I've heard that he did an interview with him.
I listened to about half of it. It's like 3 hours long. I was like, I'm not gonna dedicate 3 hours of my life with my lungs to listen to this, but I'll listen to some of it. It's very interesting. But my favorite line was they psyoped us into believing that the common cold was deadly. I was like, I'm not gonna say I disagree with that. To say it. So John Garrettson, I know you agree with that quote. I'm just saying. All right, my not financial advice. Barack Obama did an interview.
Dude, you just went from Andrew Tate to Barack Obama, dude. You're trying to make everyone hate you.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. I said put your political biases aside. Barack Obama, I'm gonna crown him king of charisma. And here's why.
Yeah, I would say so.
He went on an interview with Nate Burleson, former NFL receiver, Super Bowl champion, maybe? I don't know. He went on an interview. Here's the thing. I don't even know what the interview was about. All I know is that when Obama, there was a behind the scenes, they were like, this is why Obama is the most relatable guy. This is why he's like the coolest president ever. He comes in and he hits Nate Burleson with like this 1, 2, 3 punch of compliments. And I am instilling that in every interaction I have with a person moving forward. He calls him sir first, which I've already kind of adopted that into my language. Calls him sir. It shows a certain level of respect, right? Oh, how you doing, sir? Right? It's former NFL receiver, former president of the United States. Like, obviously, we know where they stand. They're like, sir, how you doing? And Nate Burleson, also an African-American gentleman, is wearing like just a cool tan suit. And Obama's like, oh, I can never get away with tan. And he was like, so he compliments the fact that he can wear the tan suit. Obama can't. Obama brings himself down to say, like, you're better than me. Like, you can get away with tan, I can't. And then he compliments him again. I can't remember what the third compliment is, but just like 1, 2, 3 punch, king of charisma. I was like, that's good. So that's the non-financial advice. If you're meeting someone for the first time, or you just want to put on a good impression, just hit them with as many like compliments or position yourself in a way that like they are above you. And I was like, dang, that makes Obama very likable. You put your political biases aside, you watch that interaction, you're like, I wish I was meeting him. He just made that guy look so good. Like, he'd probably make me look good. So, love that.
He could find something.
Just so good. Yeah, I loved it. I love that. Watch the TikTok, watch the Instagram. Nate Burleson, Barack Obama. He just hits him with the charisma crunch. It's great.
Oh, man. All right. Well, that's the pod.
That's the pod. Like and subscribe.
Yeah.